Test one, two. Test one, two. Test one, two.
Sergeant. Hello. This isn't even, oh, hey, Sergeant, can we get ready to begin?
Good afternoon. Welcome to today's New York City Council hearing on the Committee on Economic Development. At this time, during today's hearing, no one may approach the dais. If you'd like to testify, see one of the sergeant at arms at the back to fill out a testimony slip. Please silence all electronic devices at this time. Chair, you may begin.
Good afternoon. Today is October 28, 2025. My name is Amanda Farias, and I have the privilege of chairing the Council's Economic Development Committee. I want to thank all committee members for joining us today for this important hearing. I would like to start by saying that I'm a strong supporter of NYC Ferry. I ride it myself. I recommend it to my constituents, neighbors, and I recognize it as a vital asset um, and vital transportation connection serving communities across our 5 boroughs. Since its launch in 2017, NYC Ferry has carried more than 30 million riders and has become an essential part of our city's transportation network. But support doesn't mean accepting the status quo without scrutiny. It means holding the system accountable so it can deliver on its promises to the millions of New Yorkers who depend on it. Today's hearing serves a dual purpose. First, we will conduct oversight on NYC Ferry operations and our city's waterfront infrastructure, with a particular focus on environmental sustainability and financial accountability. Second, we will hear testimony on 7 pieces of legislation that would strengthen environmental protections at our cruise terminals, expand transit equity, and support minority and women-owned businesses. It has been over a year since our last oversight hearing on NYC Ferry, and we have much to discuss. When EDC announced the new contract with City Experiences in 2023, they made a clear promise. The per passenger subsidy would be reduced by nearly 30% by 2025. We are now at that milestone, and we need to know whether that promise has been kept. We also want to understand what happened to the corporate naming sponsorship that was supposed to help drive down the costs to the ferry system. The Citizens Budget Commission has raised legitimate concerns about the sustainability of our highest subsidized ferry routes, and those concerns deserve serious consideration. But I also believe that ferry service is fundamentally about providing transit access to communities that have historically been underserved by our transportation network. The question is not whether we should provide ferry service, but how we can do so more efficiently while ensuring it reaches the New Yorkers who need it the most. We took one step in that direction in 2023 when I sponsored Local Law 47, which extended reduced ferry fares to all New York City public high school students. Today, the committee will consider Introduction 1121, which I am a proud sponsor, which would extend reduced ferry fares to middle school students in grades 6 through 8. If we truly believe in transit equity, we cannot leave younger students behind simply because they haven't reached the 9th grade, and especially because lots of parents are interested in seeing their middle school students on the ferry system. Language accessibility is equally critical to ensuring our ferry system serves all New Yorkers. When ferry schedules, fare information, and ticketing materials are only available in English, we create barriers for millions of limited English proficient residents. This is not a courtesy, it is a necessity if we want our ferry system to be truly accessible. We'll be discussing Introduction 1149 today, which I also sponsored, that would require language accessibility at all ferry terminals to be displayed in the 6 designated citywide languages. We will also be hearing Resolution 400, sponsored by Council Member Holden, which urges EDC to expand ferry service to LaGuardia Airport. I'll now shift to the environmental component of today's hearing. Climate change is not a distant threat, it is here, and the city's waterfront infrastructure needs to be part of the solution. The cruise terminals in Manhattan and Red Hook serve over 1.3 million passengers annually, making the Port of New York and New Jersey the third largest cruise market in the United States. However, this economic activity comes with environmental costs. When cruise ships dock at these terminals, they run diesel powered engines for up to 11 hours, emitting harmful pollutants directly into surrounding communities that are already overburdened by a number of the environmental hazards. Shore power is one solution. It allows ships to plug into the electrical grid and turn off their engines while docked, dramatically reducing air pollution and improving public health. Yet, despite this technology being readily available, the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal's shore power infrastructure remains underutilized, and the Manhattan Cruise Terminal still lacks shore power connections entirely. This is not just an air quality issue, it's an environmental justice issue for the residents of Red Hook and Manhattan's West Side who bear the burden of these emissions. Introduction 937, sponsored by Councilmember Aviles, would require annual reporting on shore power usage at cruise terminals, ensuring more transparency and accountability to better understand the implementation of what should be an easy fix to a system that would benefit the city's air quality and environment. We will also be hearing Resolution 1143, also sponsored by Councilmember Aviles, which calls for a feasibility study on transitioning all city ports to zero emission operations by 2040, a bold but necessary vision for the city's environmental future. Finally, we will also consider two resolutions focused on economic equity. Resolution 529, sponsored by Councilmember Williams, calls on Congress to support legislation ensuring diversity in community banking. A resolution 531, also sponsored by Councilmember Williams, calling for reciprocity between New York City and New York State MWBE registries, which would reduce barriers for minority and women-owned businesses seeking to do business with the city. We hope to explore how these legislative proposals align with EDC's current plans and the overall vision for NYC Ferry and the cruise terminals, and how doing so would impact the neighborhoods around ferry landings as well as upon the city's air quality and environment. Before I turn the floor over to the administration, I would like to take a minute to acknowledge Economic Development Committee staff, Senior Counsel Alex Polinoff, Senior Policy Analyst William Hongach, and Finance Analyst Glenn Martelloni for all their hard work putting this hearing together. I'll now turn it over to Councilmember Aviles to read an opening statement.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chair, for holding this important hearing today regarding ferry operations and waterfront sustainability, a topic I care deeply about. As you know, this topic is so important as a representative of our waterfront district, and we have two bills that are being considered here today. The first bill, Intro 937, would require EDC to publish data related to the use of shore power. About a year and a half ago, I was proud to stand with my community in Red Hook to demand that major cruise operators use shore power when docked to avoid spewing tons of toxic fumes into what's an already environmental justice community. While this legislation has been enacted, my office is still regularly inundated with calls for constituents who witness ships continuing to spew black exhaust into the neighborhood. While EDC continues to offer excuses on why this may be happening, the community I represent deserves access to real data and not just reports on whether a ship is plugged in or not, but an explanation as to why a ship was unable to plug in. While this will give my community the information they need to advocate, it will also give local elected officials, such as myself, the information needed to make regulatory decisions or advocate for additional investments where it may be necessary. I also want to mention that we need data on a consistent basis, as at this time, the availability of data seems intermittent with no explanation as to why. We are also hearing Intro 1143, which would require the administration to conduct a zero emissions port feasibility study. I'm proud to be working on this with Pacific Environment on this legislation, and New York City just lags far behind other municipalities like Seattle, who have passed similar ordinances. And as the co-chair of the Brooklyn Marine Terminal Task Force, I can say at no other time is this study more crucial. As we are on the precipice of investing hundreds of millions of dollars into our port infrastructure, it is crucial that we bring New York City into the future instead of looking at midterm solutions. towards building out green infrastructure at our ports, we really must make investments that are not just midterm, but for the long term. We must invest in we must green our port operations from idling trucks, delivery supplies, to our cruise ships, cargo operations, and our aim must be to preserve the health of our communities and long-term sustainability. So I look forward to the conversation today, and I must thank our community for their tireless advocacy on these issues and helping them to get to the floor today. And I know this has been a conversation over 4 years, and I know certainly there has been progress made. And my job is to make sure there is a lot more progress and a lot faster. So I do have to recognize that I understand even the MSC ship, the big one, we connected to shore power and it works. Yeah, okay. And it works, but I also just want to say we're going to continue to push because that is our job for consistent work, for information that is clear, not just unplugged, or and so that the community is truly understanding and we're building into a healthy, sustainable city. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Aviles. I will now turn it over to Committee Counsel to administer the oath.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Alex Polinoff, Committee Counsel for Economic Development. Will all members of the administration testifying today please raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony today, and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you. You may begin when ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Farias and members of the Economic Development Committee. Thank you for your continued leadership and commitment to the New York City Harbor. I appreciate the opportunity to testify today. My name is Giacomo Landi, and I serve as Executive Vice President of Asset Management for the New York City Economic Development Corporation. I'm joined by my colleagues Allison Dees, Vice President of Ports, Waterfront, and Transportation, Franny Civitano, Deputy Director of NYC Ferry, and Michelle Lamberti, Vice President of Legislative Affairs in our Government and Community Relations Department. I'm also joined by Captain John Garvey, who serves as the New York City Department of Transportation Deputy Commissioner for Ferries and Chief Operations Officer for the Staten Island Ferry. The New York City Economic Development Corporation, EDC, works to create a vibrant, inclusive, and globally competitive economy for all New Yorkers. Our work is guided by 4 strategic priorities: strengthening business confidence, growing innovation industries with a focus on equity, building neighborhoods as a place to live, learn, work, and play, and delivering sustainable infrastructure. On the eve of the anniversary of Superstorm Sandy in New York City, it's important to note that EDC is dedicated to sustainability and climate resiliency. We look forward to partnering with you as we advance electrification at the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal, the Brooklyn Marine Terminal, and the Manhattan Cruise Terminal. These initiatives are critical to the city's continued success, and we deeply appreciate the partnership and advocacy of the entire City Council, most especially Chair Farias, Councilmember Aviles, and Councilmember Bottcher as we move these projects forward. Overview of our waterfront assets. New York City was born on the working waterfront. Before there were skyscrapers, there were tall-masted schooners, mighty steamships, and smaller vessels and barges navigating our harbor, moving people and goods, bringing opportunity and prosperity to our shores. As part of our mission, EDC serves as a proud steward of that legacy. EDC manages a wide range of waterfront and upland assets spanning all 5 boroughs and roughly 30 miles of the city's shoreline, from vital infrastructure like ferry landings and the Lower Manhattan Coastal Resiliency Project to key industrial and commercial hubs such as the Sunset Park District, Hunts Point, and the North Shore of Staten Island. EDC is also charged with developing and supporting the city's waterborne freight and passenger transportation infrastructure to strengthen the region's economic growth while connecting New Yorkers to well-paying jobs. New York City's historic 520-mile coastline is one of its defining features, and our transportation facilities include marine cargo terminals, cruise terminals, maritime piers and wharves, ferry landings, and an offshore wind staging port. EDC also oversees the city's passenger ferry system, NYC Ferry, which provides New Yorkers and visitors alike with a convenient and affordable transit option, connecting communities to jobs, recreation, and each other. EDC's vision for a harbor of the future, our maritime assets, and our Blue Highways program carry on the city's maritime tradition, revitalizing long-neglected waterfront sites and reinventing how modern cargo, from international shipping containers to the smallest e-commerce packages, move throughout our city. This vision for the working waterfront will create good jobs as it improves quality of life for New Yorkers. Waterfront as an economic engine. New York City's ports are America's gateway to the largest and most diverse consumer market in the nation. EDC manages a number of waterfront sites on behalf of the city, which include the Manhattan and Brooklyn Cruise Terminal and 3 cargo terminals, the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal, an offshore wind staging port, the 25th Street Freight Pier, utilized for aggregates in Sunset Park, and the Brooklyn Marine Terminal, a container port in Red Hook. And we're excited about the upcoming development of the Hunts Point Marine Terminal. Our waterfront assets are engines of economic development and employment. To that end, in 2024, our 2 cruise terminals welcomed over 1.5 million passengers, generating more than $500 million in economic impact and supporting almost 3,000 full-time jobs. At the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal, SBMT, we secured more than $1 billion of private investment and spurred the creation of more than 1,000 union construction jobs to provide port upgrades, an onshore substation, and wind turbine staging and pre-assembly. SBMT will be a long-term operations and maintenance base for offshore wind, and the BMT redevelopment will support approximately 39,000 temporary construction jobs, approximately 2,400 permanent maritime, industrial, commercial, and residential jobs, and spur $21 billion in economic impact for the city and region. Waterfront Facilities Maintenance Management System. Through EDC's Waterfront Facilities Maintenance Management System, WFMMS, I love all the acronyms, so EDC provides maintenance and repairs to city and EDC assets, safeguarding over 400 sites across 352 miles of city shoreline. This system is also an interactive resource that provides data and tools needed to track, assess, and prioritize waterfront assets in New York City. The system's centralized database of inspection information allows EDC to react more quickly, flexibly, and effectively in supporting critical city-led infrastructure projects and initiatives on the waterfront. Commitment to reducing emissions. EDC's commitment to bolstering sustainability, the green economy, and climate resiliency for the city extends to our stewardship of our port and waterfront assets. At EDC sites, including Sunset Park, the Brooklyn Marine Terminal, Hunts Point, and NYC Ferry Landings, we're at work building clean, electric ports wrapped in sustainable infrastructure. Across our portfolio, we've worked to advance electrification and the transition to cleaner energy sources to reduce emissions and their impact on our communities. This work began with the installation of shore power at the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal in 2016. This was the first shore power system for cruise ships installed on the East Coast of the United States, and it is among a handful of ports worldwide that are equipped with shore power. To expand the ability of BCT system to connect with additional ships, EDC added a mobile crane positioning device, CPD. The mobile crane positioning device allows more ships to plug in than the original system could and will facilitate future connections. For example, this past weekend, the MSC Meraviglia was able to connect to shore power at BCT via the mobile cable positioning device. However, that is only part of the solution. Additional infrastructure is needed to continue providing shore power to more ships, and that work is currently underway with a pending $6 million additional capital investment. EDC publishes a shore power report for the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal on our website, detailing shore power capable vessel calls, connection status, duration, and reasons for non-connection. Furthermore, EDC recently issued a penalty policy wherein any cruise ship that's not compliant with Local Law 54 is fined $25,000 per occurrence for the first 9 non-compliant occurrences and $50,000 per non-compliant occurrence thereafter. Proceeds are intended to support enhancements in the shore power system, capability upgrades, and initiatives to improve overall connection rates at our city cruise terminals. At the Manhattan Cruise Terminal, MCT, EDC is committed to the adoption of shore power. To advance the modernization of MCT as a resilient global gateway for the 21st century, EDC has undertaken a comprehensive MCT master plan process that we anticipate releasing in the coming weeks. The MCT master plan will offer a roadmap to ensure New York City remains a leading global cruise home port by expanding market capacity while delivering shore power to all cruise, tug, public ferry, and Blue Highways berths, maximizing on-site renewable energy generation and serving as a potential Blue Highways node on the west side of Manhattan. Regarding our cargo terminal facilities, we've explored opportunities to electrify and reduce emissions at these sites. As part of the broader Brooklyn Marine Terminal BMT Vision Plan, EDC is committed to creating a resilient all-electric port. The future port will be fully electrified, employing the use of electric cargo handling equipment and shore power, which will significantly reduce emission and noise impacts in local communities. Blue Highways. Another way we're reducing emission is through the Blue Highways program, which activates the city's waterways for local and regional movement of goods, improving quality of life for New Yorkers by reducing congestion on our roadways, adding resiliency to the city's supply chain, and tapping into our roots as a port city. This interagency program aims to restructure freight distribution in the city, shifting deliveries from roadways to waterways to create a robust and interconnected freight network that supports zero-emission transportation for middle to last mile deliveries and reduces the city's over-reliance on trucks. To advance the Blue Highways program earlier this year, EDC announced a new public-private partnership at the downtown Skyport to build out a large barge landing for fast ferries delivering cargo by e-bike to lower Manhattan destinations. In June, the administration announced that the prison barge at Hunts Point will be removed and replaced by a Hunts Point Marine Terminal that will allow for the unloading of containers with perishable goods coming by barge to the food distribution center from BMT ports on the New Jersey and Staten Island side of the harbor and other points along the East Coast. The administration made an initial $28 million commitment towards the Hunts Point facility that is ultimately projected to remove 9,000 monthly truck trips from city streets and reduce roadway congestion. BMT will be a key node in the citywide Blue Highways program, using barges, fast ferries, and zero-emission vehicles. The BMT port will focus on water-to-water freight, removing trucks from local streets and New York City roadways. EDC and NYC DOT are continuing to evaluate more than 25 sites across the boroughs for the feasibility of activating Blue Highway landings. NYC Ferry. NYC Ferry is a key EDC waterway and waterside asset, carried a record 7.4 million riders in 2024, and its ridership is already up 2% in 2025. This increasingly popular mode of transit offers safe, dependable, affordable, and accessible transportation between waterfront communities across the city, increasing economic opportunity. With 6 routes that touch every borough, 25 landings, and 38 vessels, the system spans over 70 nautical miles and is the largest passenger-only fleet in the nation, based on hours of service and fleet size. While the system operates year-round, it's becoming increasingly popular during the summer. NYC Ferry broke daily, weekly, and monthly ridership records this summer. August saw the highest ridership in a single month with over 1 million total boardings, a 17% increase over August 2024. The ferry's record summer ridership coincides with July announcement of a proposed system-wide optimization and reconfiguration of routes based on a comprehensive and holistic review of how NYC Ferry routes work as a system, as well as years of rider feedback, ridership data, operational analysis, and existing infrastructure. The planned optimization will seek to address known issues, improve the rider experience, and ensure the long-term sustainability of the system. This plan received a tremendous response with over 15,000 individual feedback submissions and nearly 90% of respondents saying they would ride NYC Ferry the same amount or more if the plan is enacted. We are completing a review of the feedback and will announce the final map later this fall, with route changes taking effect this winter. NYC Ferry Discount Program. An integral part of NYC Ferry's team work has been advancing the goals set out in Mayor Adams and EDC's NYC Ferry Forward Plan that was announced in 2022 to make NYC Ferry more equitable, accessible, and fiscally sustainable. In the 3 years since the plan was announced, NYC Ferry has successfully introduced and expanded a discount program to offer reduced fare multi and single ticket rides for seniors and people with disabilities. Since the program's expansion, 25,000 New Yorkers have enrolled, and we've seen a 600% increase in the use of discounted tickets after introducing the single trip discount option. Our fare analysis has shown that lowering the upfront costs of participating in the discount program and introducing a 10-trip pack has led to increased trip frequency among our returning customers, including minority and discount riders. We aim to further improve this program by overhauling our ticketing system and technology. Within the next 2 years, we'll replace all ticket machines with new ones that allow verified users to purchase discount tickets at each landing. We will also introduce a tap-to-pay system that will give riders even more options to purchase tickets using their own fare media. Student Discount Program. Thanks to your leadership and legislation, Majority Leader Farias, we are proud to launch the Student Discount Program in August 2024. Making the ferry system affordable and accessible for high school students has become a critical component of our equity and accessibility work. Since this affordable weekday commuting program opened, we've been actively promoting it to eligible students, their families, and school communities. Over 1,300 students registered for the program last year, and over 27,000 student discount tickets were purchased. Program re-enrollment for this school year just opened in the fall, and so far we've seen roughly 600 students register. We have implemented an extensive engagement strategy to boost participation. We appreciate Council's enthusiasm and support and look forward to enrolling students for whom the ferry is a convenient means of transportation to and from school. We're always looking for ways to make NYC Ferry even more accessible to New Yorkers. Language access. Language accessibility is vital to ensure NYC Ferry serves all New Yorkers. To this end, the NYC Ferry app and website support over 40 languages. While there are 10 designated languages for the City of New York that represent the most spoken languages for the city at large, NYC Ferry works to tailor its language access to the specific language needs of the communities it serves. NYC Ferry has identified 6 designated languages through an analysis of the language needs of its service area, as recommended by US DOT and the Federal Transit Agency. These languages include Spanish, Russian, Polish, Yiddish, Chinese, and Korean. All our key documents, including our commitment to equality statement, compliant forms, rider surveys, and the information on our website and app, include schedule and fare information, are translated into the aforementioned 6 languages. We also work to further adapt our language access plans to meet the specific needs of the communities we serve. For example, Yiddish translators are available at landings during Sukkot when Yiddish speakers' ridership tends to peak, and engagement materials on the Hunters Point South landing design were translated into Chinese and Spanish. Reduced emissions. NYC Ferry is eager to reduce emissions from our vessels. In January, NYC Ferry, along with the Staten Island Ferry, began testing the use of renewable diesel fuel, a petroleum-free alternative to traditional diesel fuel. Renewable diesel reduces carbon emissions by 60% or more, and its use in the city's ferries will help more than 25 million annual riders navigate the city's waterways in a more sustainable way. NYC Ferry completed a 6-month pilot and is currently analyzing the results to confirm that the fuel is safe for long-term use on our boats. We are optimistic that we will be able to move our entire fleet to renewable diesel. Additionally, we are investing $20 million to begin upgrades to 13 of our largest vessels to the highest EPA engine standards, Tier 4, to reduce pollutants and improve air quality. These immediate upgrades are part of a broader sustainability strategy that will aim to transition the NYC Ferry fleet towards zero and reduced emissions vessels. As part of this strategy, EDC is conducting a study focusing on both the vessels and the changes to the shoreside infrastructure necessary to support decarbonization operation. Council introductions. As I've outlined today, EDC shares Council's goals and is committed to shore power, the electrification of our ports, and the transition to zero and reduced emissions ferry vessels. To that end, with respect to Council Introduction 937 and its proposed annual reporting on the use of shore power at city cruise terminals, and Introduction 1143, seeking a study on transitioning all city ports to zero-emission port operations. We are aligned with the goals of these introductions and look forward to working with Council on legislative language. Turning to the NYC Ferry-focused legislation with respect to Introduction 1121, seeking the inclusion of middle school students in the NYC Ferry Discount Fare Program, we share the desire to explore ways to expand fare discounts to NYC students. We look forward to working with your team to see how this can be accomplished. With respect to Introduction 1149, we recognize the importance of having multilingual printed information at landings. While providing landing signage in 10 or more languages presents operational challenges, we're exploring strategies to better incorporate language across landings. In closing, we take great pride in our efforts to transition our waterfront infrastructure, assets, ports, and NYC Ferry toward greener, cleaner operations, and our work to make NYC Ferry accessible to even more New Yorkers. We value the Council's partnership and support in these efforts, and thank you for the opportunity to testify about our work. My team and I are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for the very thorough testimony. Yeah, 7 pages exactly. We've also been joined by Councilmember Gutierrez and Botcher. I'm going to jump right into some of the NYC Ferry questions, and I do just want to note that Councilmember Aviles had to step away for a meeting, but she left me with some questions on Shore Power that I will also be asking on her behalf. So just around financial performance, what's the current per ride subsidy for NYC Ferry, and have we achieved the promised 30% reduction by 2025?
Thank you for that question. Short answer, yes, we have achieved it, and I think we are even surpassing it. Over last year, we saw in fiscal year 24, we saw a subsidy of $9.09. We are hopefully days away from being able to publish our now finalized subsidy for fiscal year 25, and it will be significantly lower than that. So that is an even more than 30% reduction from its peak.
Okay, great. We're excited to hear that a new report is coming out, because I know we made a lot of strides towards our single ride with an increase in dollar, and so I'm interested to see how that has panned out. Can you folks talk to the revenue that we've generated through FY25 and FY24 for NYC Ferry?
Yes. So let me see. We have seen a significant increase in revenue that has come in through fares. That is one major part of the new contract that we signed with Hornblower in 2023. So the city now retains all fare box revenue, and so that is a great thing. With the increase in, we have had 2 fare increases in the last 3 or so years, which, as you said, has given us the flexibility to have that single ride discount ticket, the 10-trip pass, which maintains a comparable fare to the subway for people who are regular riders or families or people who are traveling in groups. And then people who are infrequent riders or tourists or leisure riders pay a little bit more. So I don't have, once we have the finalized transparency report, which has all of our financials, we'll send that, and that will have the exact numbers. I don't want to misquote.
Okay, great. And what's the status of securing a corporate naming sponsor for NYC Ferry?
Thank you for that question. So in the summer, we hired a sponsorship consultant agency called IPG, Innovative Partnerships Group. They are very big in the sports industry, which is the largest industry where we see naming rights sponsorship. So we have been working with them and have had a lot of interest in different sectors. We don't have a deal to share right now, but we are in many conversations, and we're very optimistic about where that might lead.
Is this consultant also kind of working with the marketing team where we see like the Taylor Swift opportunity or the Teletubby opportunity that I saw. I follow NYC Ferry. There's always like something happening with a
Yes.
partnership that we're trying to promote. So is that where some of that is coming? And is that aiming towards revenue generation or just increasing ridership, like revenue generation through increasing ridership?
So our sponsorship consultants are solely focused on naming rights sponsorships, and then potential other very high level sponsorships, like if there was a Wi-Fi sponsor or something like that. So they are focused on that,
Okay.
and they are having very high level conversations with big brands who would want to come in and say, you know what, we want to be a long-term partner with NYC Ferry, and sort of in the way that City is a partner with City Bike. And so our marketing team at Hornblower, who I'm glad that you are following them on social media, I get a kick out of all of what they do. They have a separate advertising program. They work with brands on social media, on board. They sometimes do pop-ups or activations. And so that is a separate stream of revenue where we share in revenue with everything that they bring in.
Okay, great. Can you folks provide the current ridership statistics, including daily, weekly, annual totals?
That is a great question. I don't have daily and weekly. We can get back to you on that. But last year we saw over 7.4 million, and we are on track to surpass that this year in 2025.
And how has ridership trended since our last hearing in September of 2024? I know you stated some solid numbers in the testimony.
Yes, we continue to see ridership growth. As Giacomo mentioned in the testimony, we had some of the highest summer ridership we've ever had. So we've never had more than 1 million riders in 1 month before, and that happened in August, which is fantastic to see. But what I'm also very interested in is the solid growth that we see on more commuter routes. For example, on St. George, that has had a very impressive growth rate in the double digits. And so while that still remains the lowest ridership route of the system, it is really encouraging to see that more people are taking it.
Okay, you're kind of going into my other questions,
Okay.
but no,
I'll
it's
calm down.
great. No, it's great. Do you happen to have the percentage of riders that are purchasing single ride tickets versus 10 trip bundles? Like, I know I'm a leisurely rider and I don't buy the bundles. I'm the person that buys the single ticket, but do we have those numbers?
If my colleague Matt was here, he would have that stat right on the top of his head. But we do see that. I'm not going to try and quote that because I don't have that in front of me. But we can get back to you. But I will say that we do find there are a very dedicated group of commuters. Those commuters are using the 10-pack. Soundview, for example, that route has very strong, we call sticky riders. They are riding multiple times a week. And so that is a very high usage. Those two landings in the Bronx are very high usage for the 10-packs during AM and PM commutes, which is what we would expect.
And which routes have seen the highest or greatest ridership growth, and which routes have declined?
St. George has had the highest rate of growth. Like I said, not the highest ridership. All of the rest have continued to grow. I think when you look on average during weekday, weekend, and all times of year, at least slightly. But there are some routes that have begun to plateau a little bit, which was one of the major focuses of our optimization plan that we put out, was really trying to propose changes that would encourage ridership growth. And we are hopeful that with those changes, once we announce the final map, that we could see up to 14% increase in ridership.
Okay. And then in terms of, I know you have it somewhere in your testimony. Oh, right here. 38 vessels. How many vessels are fully operational on a daily basis? And then how many service disruptions occurred in FY25 due to mechanical issues?
I do not have the number of disruptions off the top of my head. We can certainly circle back and get back to you on that. I will say, though, that there has been one or two times since COVID when I know we have had to um, cancel one leg of a route due to a significant disruption. Largely, this is part of how we need to balance the fleet. We've got, I think, the highest peak that we have are summer weekends. So that's when the most number of boats are in service. I think it is about 28 or 29 of the 38. And so the other ones are in for planned maintenance or available for unplanned maintenance. So if something's going on with a boat and it needs to be swapped out, the new boat can come in and meet them at the place where they're docking and do that swap.
Are we seeing more vessels out during like rush hour times versus?
Uh, I would say that the amount of time when a disruption is happening where the riders are impacted, like they are on a boat and they have to get off a boat to get on a new one, is very limited. That's maybe 10 times a month that happens. That's our goal, is to keep that as low as possible. There's not really a noticeable trend that we have seen on our side that it's more often commuter times or non-commuter times.
Okay. In terms of city experiences and the contract and operations, has Hornblower's acquisition by strategic value partners had any impact on NYC's ferries operations or service quality?
Thank you for that question. This was something we were looking at very closely, and no, we have not seen any impact to NYC ferry service, which is largely, I think, how we have structured that contract. And so, yes, we are very pleased that there was no appearance of anything changing behind the scenes yet.
That's good to hear. What's the current term of the operating contract and when does it expire?
The current contract started in 2023, and it has a first term of 5 years. There are 2 3-year options to extend at EDC's discretion. So it could go up until 11 years. So 2028 is when we would see that first term either expire and we end it, or extending onto the first of the 2 options.
Okay. And then after that, the assumption is a new RFP would go out.
Yes.
Okay. How much revenue has been generated from the non-farebox sources, if we have that on hand? Advertising, concessions, sponsorships?
We will have to get back to you on that.
Okay. And what system upgrades have been made to improve efficiency? Are we finally with the free onboard Wi-Fi available on all the vessels?
Yes, we are. Free onboard Wi-Fi, every vessel. Yes.
Any other fixings?
Yes, we have at every landing there are automatic arrival and departure messages. So when a boat is approaching, it will say the Soundview boat to East 90th is now approaching. We also on board have automatic audio announcements. So the next stop is Soundview. There are visual we have, I think, 6 digital screens on every boat.
Mm-hmm.
When a boat is approaching a landing, it will say, this stop is Soundview, the next stop is Ferry Point Park. And then there's a new multilingual chatbot in the app and on the website. Yeah, that's the bulk of them.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to move towards the Ferry Forward and discount program questions. How many seniors, persons with disabilities, fair participants, and high school students are currently using the NYC Ferry discount program?
We have about 25,000 people signed up in our discount program. That includes all of the 4 buckets of eligible folks. Specifically on high school, last year we saw over 1,300 individual high school students that signed up, and I think about 27,000 tickets were purchased. And so, you know, the student program is one that you have to enroll for every year. So now we are, I think, almost 2 months into the school year. We have about 600 high school students signed up, and so we will continue to push that.
And do we have a breakdown of seniors or people with disabilities?
Seniors is a bigger portion than people with disabilities, but I don't have that exact breakdown.
Okay.
offhand.
Can you make sure to get that
Yes,
to
we will
me?
send
And
that.
anything on Fair Fares participants?
I do not know the breakdown offhand.
Okay. Can you folks talk about the outreach efforts that EDC has undertaken to publicize the discount programs
Yes.
to these groups of folks?
So this EDC has a outreach team, and then Hornblower has an outreach team also. So primarily for NYC Ferry, that lies with them. We have in our contract that they have to do a minimum number of days that they canvass in different neighborhoods every month. They have to engage with at least 10,000 people a year. And then there are different like events that they have to do as well, or yeah, there's career fairs, all of that kind of stuff. So a major focus whenever they're canvassing or have a table at a community event or something like that, or going to a public meeting, one of their big things that they promote is the discount program. So they have flyers on that. They will often go to meet people where they are. So they have gone to senior centers and brought an iPad to help sign people up and take pictures of their ID and get them, you know, into the program. For high school students specifically, we were grateful to do an event with your office last year. The Nycc page on the DOE website, which is where parents and guardians go to sign their kids up for benefits and transportation and things. There's a banner there that says, hey, your child is eligible, or your student is eligible. And so there are a few different ways that that's accomplished.
And do we have the total cost to the city of providing the discounted fares in FY25?
It's pretty negligible.
Okay.
There was a budget last year when the program was really kicking off, and it was so we put some marketing budget towards it. But as far as like, you know, fares that are reduced, it's a pretty small portion.
Great. And do you happen to know the amount of potential middle school students that may be eligible if 1121 passes?
Yes. So there are about 400,000 high school students and I think over 300,000 middle school students. Catherine will kick me if I'm wrong. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks. And what's the current status of exploring ferry service to LaGuardia Airport or JFK Airport?
Yes.
Either airport.
Airports. So in general, airports are places that we have looked at in the past. I know Port Authority has also looked at specifically LaGuardia. We do not have any current plans at the moment to introduce service there. I think those are areas where what we've seen in the past when we've looked at these there are some geographic challenges to be to be aware of and that would seriously need to be worked through. Some of these are very sensitive areas, water depth, things like that. But also just the difference in service from a commuter service to an airport service that really relies on frequent, very reliable service that maybe goes past the hours that we currently operate. So those are some of the considerations that we would think about. But at the moment, we do not have plans to introduce service at an airport.
Can you provide ridership statistics and financial performance for the Summer Rockaway Rocket Express service?
We are very happy to get back to you with that.
How is EDC working to integrate NYC Ferry with other transit options, including MTA buses and subways? And has there been any conversations or progress towards looking at plans for a unifying ticketing system that would allow seamless transfers or even the use of multi-packeted ticketing between the ferries and other modes of transportation?
Thank you. So we, as a very separate system from MTA, which obviously is state controlled and we are city, we do not have any plans to integrate as far as like free transfers go. We also know, Omni is a ticketing system that exists and is how I get on the train every day. It's a great system. We have decided to introduce our own tap and pay system. So you couldn't use an Omni card on that, even though it would be a separate fare, but you can use your own fare media. And we will be introducing our own NYC Ferry discount card, which will make it possible to buy discounted tickets at every landing, which is something that is a very big priority for me. I know that this is, something that we are currently lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And so it will still remain a separate system, but it will be far easier for regular riders, especially those in the discount program, and then folks who are even irregular riders who don't want to deal with going to a ticket machine. They can just tap at the landing.
Got it. What languages are currently used for ferry schedules, fare information, and ticketing materials at the NYC ferry terminals themselves, not just online?
So ferry signage is in English. The ticket machine, you can purchase tickets in Spanish and English, and then there is information about tickets and fares and the height requirement for kids for getting a free ticket there in Spanish and English. When we do introduce the new ticketing system that I just spoke about, there will be that ticket purchase can happen in as many languages as we want. So all 10 city languages plus I think the city language or the language that we support that is not a 10 designated city language is Yiddish. So 11 languages plus English. This is an area that we very much agree with your sentiment that it needs to be accessible for people who are standing at the landing. We have not found the right solution yet, but we are looking at it, and we appreciate your advocacy on this. This is helpful to us to push us in this direction. So we're trying to look for a solution that would not mean 10 signs in 10 languages,
Sure.
something that is practical and is aware of, the visual clutter that might happen. So we know that there's a middle ground that needs to be found, and we are looking at that.
That's great. I know we've had conversations about this in a variety of ways, both on signage, but also on like the audio visual, how people know where the lanes are and things like that. So I appreciate the ongoing effort to have this conversation and trying to find a suitable resolution for New Yorkers and those visiting. But I appreciate having, just the openness to figure out what best works at each of these terminals. Any idea on an estimated cost to translate all ferry terminal signage or materials in the 6 designated citywide languages, or if you've looked at any cost estimate on some of the solutions that maybe you folks are throwing around internally.
The estimate that I have is really related to the production of signs. I think translation for a lot of signage would be a one-time cost. It's really the production and then reproduction of signs. So to swap out all the signs in our system right now would be in the it would be a six-figure number, probably in the 100 or so range, 100,000.
So a drop in the bucket. Okay, great. I have just two final questions before I turn it over to Councilmember Gutierrez, and then come back to me for Councilmember Aviles' questions. So just on environmental sustainability, what's the current fuel efficiency for NYC ferry vessels compared to when the system first launched in 2017?
That is a great question. Thank you for that. I don't have the comparison between now and then, but we are doing three things right now that are really focused on reducing emissions. The first two are immediate. So one, Giacomo talked about our renewable diesel pilot that we did. This is a fuel that is made from renewable sources, but unlike biofuel, which sometimes is confused with renewable diesel, it is 100% renewable, and it can just be dropped in directly to our diesel ferries. And so we had a very positive first look at that, and we are very optimistic that the engine testing that's going on right now will show that there won't be any long-term damage to the vessels. And so if that is the case, we intend to introduce that to the whole fleet. And with that, we see up to 60% reduction in emissions. The other more immediate, well, I'll call it medium-term thing, is Giacomo mentioned we have recently committed $20 million to start replacing the engines in our larger vessels. So we have 15 350 passenger vessels. Those vessels can accept the highest rated EPA engine for passenger ferries, which is Tier 4, and that reduces local emissions by up to 60% as well. And so those are two things that we are focused on that we know can be accomplished with our existing fleet. The more longer term goal is we have also been conducting a reduced emission study. And so this is looking at what technologies exist in the world, in the United States. United States is, slightly behind the rest of the world in some of these technologies, but there are really good things that are happening, and some of our colleagues in other places it's a very good opportunity to learn from them. We know that those are longer term challenges, like we can't retrofit our existing boats. We would have to build entirely new boats. We also know there is a very demanding upland infrastructure requirement for charging. And so all of those things are things we are looking at and that we would like to do, and that will guide our long-term strategy.
And where are you folks sourcing or getting the renewable diesel?
That is an
fuel from?
excellent question that we will get back to you on.
Okay, and anything on transitioning to like a hybrid or zero emission fleet in the future?
That will be led by our long-term study. And yeah, that will have to be a conversation about upland charging and getting power to landings, and what kind of structure needs to house that, plus the fleet side. I think one of the things that we are learning throughout this study is that it's less about the fleet, although there are constraints there. We run a very fast service where our goal is, picking people up quickly, but we also go to places that are very far away. Those are less full, battery electric. It works less well with those because you have to do frequent charging. So it's it's going to be a combination of both those things, and we'll learn more after the study is completed.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to yield my time now and pass it over to Councilmember Gutierrez.
Thank you so much, Majority Leader, and thank y'all so much for the testimony. I'm really encouraged by your responses. I think today, 2025, compared to some of those first council hearings, I think we've come a long way, and I think that's great. So these are my flowers to y'all. I wanted to just ask. I'm embarrassed, but I don't actually know. Do the bathrooms have changing tables?
Yes, there is a changing table in the.
I don't know if I've
A-
written it since becoming a mom, so I don't think I ever bothered
Yes.
looking. But okay, they do.
There's yes on the ADA bathroom there is yes.
Okay, excellent. And now I just have a couple of questions related to the website, which super fun. Is that the website built in house, or is it with OTI, or
That is a hornblower
Okay.
product, and yes, I believe they built that in house.
okay? And does and I mean it's a pretty standard and standard website, but do you all in the contract? Is there any any notice or any piece in the contract where if there's any data being collected that like kind of where does it live? Does it stay with EDC? Does it stay with Hornblower? I know it's again pretty standard kind of like service site, but there are some instances where you're messaging or whatever. And anything that you can share with me on the data piece that they're collecting?
EDC does not get any of that data. I imagine that there is something that Hornblower collects to function. This is my limited knowledge of
Sure.
cookies and like
You can get back to me.
caching and
Yeah.
yes. So we will get back to you on what is collected.
Okay. And is the practice of not, I guess, collecting or seeing the data again, because people can purchase their tickets on the website, right? So
They can purchase them on the app or at ticket
On the app.
machines.
Okay.
There's not currently a way to purchase on the website.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, that's a good distinction. So, but even on the app, none of that data is being shared with EDC, but you're not sure if it's being shared at all.
People's personal identifying information is definitely not being shared with EDC. We do, as part of our contract, require Hornblower to collect information about like where a ticket was activated, where a scan might have or a transfer might have happened. Excuse me. So what we get is a number that is associated with a person's account, but
Okay.
EDC cannot look up like this 12345 number is related
This
to
person.
Franny.
Sure.
But what that allows us to do is to say, okay, there are this many repeat customers, there are this many people who ride during AM peak 4 times a week or whatever that might be.
Okay. Have there been any issues with the chatbot feature at all?
That is a fairly new service.
I'm on it right
and-
now. I've been waiting for a few minutes. I've been waiting for 10
Ah,
minutes.
Okay.
But I don't know how
yeah.
often people are. I mean, I don't know if that's part of the reporting. Like, how often are people utilizing the chatbot since it's so new?
That's a great question, and that's something that we will definitely follow up on. From my understanding, it should be automatic, and so I think there was
It's very friendly,
Okay,
but nothing for 10 minutes.
Okay. So we will have to look into that. Yeah.
Okay. Please, yeah, I would love to. Is that at all in part? Is that included in the reporting or not yet?
We do get customer service reporting, but I think it is more general, and I think that reporting was identified before the chatbot was introduced. So we'll look into that. And
When was the chatbot feature introduced?
I believe it was sometime this year.
Okay.
I will.
Okay.
I will check.
I don't know if you've heard, but chatbot features on the city sites are hard, are difficult to get it together on the
Yes.
initial rollout.
Yes.
Okay, I just have one more question. Sorry, I wrote it down. Oh, can you give me information? Can you share information on the advertising on board? Who approves that? Is it whistleblower? Is it EDC? What are some of like the policies and guardrails? A couple of weeks ago, there was advertising for ICE, for working for ICE, and many of our link kiosks, and people were up in arms about that naturally. And so just would like to understand what the policy is for EDC on the advertising. Yeah.
So, Hornblower.
That was what I had asked the chatbot, by the way. That I
you,
still
you,
I still don't know.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
Hornblower manages the onboard advertising program. So there are digital screens on every boat, and some of those have safety information, or like what I was talking about earlier, when a boat is approaching a landing, it says this is Soundview or whatever. So that's a certain percentage of time when it's just information about NYC ferry, safety information, whatever. The other available time is available to be sold. So there are a certain amount of kind of slots that Hornblower tries to sell every month. And they do that some in-house. I think they work with an advertising company to do that. But either way, they're trying to sell that, and then EDC gets a portion of that. We do not approve those advertisers, but we do have some rules in our contract that govern kind of how that can be. Like, it can't be anything political, no alcohol, no tobacco. I think they're. Are you gonna? Okay. Sorry. And I'll stop there because I think I got off track.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I think you answered it. I don't know if there's more information, because I haven't looked at the contract on that. If you could just share that. That would be great. Thank you.
Definitely.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Gutierrez. Just want to move over to some questions on the shore power infrastructure. How many vessels actually used shore power at the Brooklyn terminal this year?
Number of vessels or vessel connections?
Number of vessels, vessel connections, like plugins would be great too as information.
Hi. Starting this summer, we did start to post information on the website about every single vessel call. We also have information about how much power was or was not used, the duration of the time that it was connected to shore power, and if a vessel did not connect to shore power, we have information about why it did not connect.
And that's all publicly available
And that's
on
all
the
publicly
website?
available on our website now.
Okay. Is there any reasons why the EDC would remove any of the shore power plugin data availability from the website?
No.
Okay. And then what's the frequency, I guess, of usage, and how often are you gathering shore power plugin data from the operators?
Yeah. So looking at the year ahead, over the next year, we have, as of today, we have 40 vessel calls on the calendar for 2026. We're really proud that as of today, 39 of those 40 calls are actually compatible with our shore power system.
Okay, great. And does the Manhattan Cruise Terminal currently have any shore power infrastructure?
The Manhattan Cruise Terminal today does not have shore power capability.
And what are the plans and timeline for any installations?
Yeah. You want to take it or you want me to?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. We are really excited about our current planning around shore power for the Manhattan Cruise Terminal, and thank you for this question. I know that Councilmember Botcher had to step out, but we are really thankful for his advocacy on this topic, and also the Community Board 4 and just the broader community has really been advocating for that, and we're really appreciative of that. As I mentioned, EDC is completely committed to bringing shore power to the Manhattan Cruise Terminal. There are 3 main components that you need for shore power. First is you've got to bring shore power to the property line. You've got to bring the power to the property line. The second thing for the Manhattan Cruise Terminal is that we need a substation that can handle and deliver this amount of shore power. The third thing that we need is infrastructure on the pier to actually be able to connect those cruise ships to that available power. We are actively working on that first step. We're working with our partners at Con Ed to bring the amount of power that would be needed, which we've identified is about 70 MVA. It's a lot. We're working with Con Ed right now about how to bring that amount of power to the property line.
Okay. How is EDC monitoring and enforcing compliance with Local Law 54 of 2024, which requires cruise ships to use shore power when available? And have there been any violations? I know in the testimony there were some violations that you mentioned, and that the shore power connection requirement since it took effect, and how frequently are you folks issuing those violations?
Yeah. It's our understanding that as of right now, we've actually not had violations of Local Law 54. Local Law 54 does have provisions for when it's impractical to be able to connect to shore power. And so as of pretty recently, I think maybe Councilmember Aviles mentioned this in her earlier testimony, we are really excited that we were able to connect the MSC Maravilla to shore power this past weekend. That ship was able to connect. The city needed to complete some infrastructure work to allow that to be possible. And that work completed. And as soon as that work was completed, attempts were made to start to connect the ship to shore power.
Okay, and in your testimony, you list for the first 5 non-compliant occurrences, there's 25K violation. So you're saying we basically have not had to do any of these violations because everyone is in compliance?
I think that we instituted that to the tariff. It was added the end of last week, and my guess is we're one of the first people who have done something like this, and this encourages connection by vessels to our system, and we feel very good about where the system is today compared to where it was at the start of the year. And I think that's represented by the MSC vessel finally being able to connect on Sunday. So this gets us all in the right path forward, and making sure that we're driving toward connections on a consistent basis with cruise lines.
Okay,
But the direct answer is we have not had to issue any fines.
thank you.
Yeah.
What are the estimated emissions reductions when a cruise ship uses shore power versus running auxiliary engines?
So we actually do have on our website today for Brooklyn in the data that I talked about earlier, that we indicate how much power was consumed and the duration. We've also done a calculation of what emissions have been saved by connecting to shore power. We rely on the EPA's calculators for that, but we do put that forward on the website.
It's a significant improvement when you're going to turn off the engines and you're going straight to shore power. So it's quite material, both visibly and actually.
Great, thank you. We'll make sure to if we have any questions from what's available on the website, to check in. And since our last hearing on cruise terminals, has EDC developed the community traffic mitigation plans required by Local Law 54? And if you have, can you share those with the committee?
Yes, absolutely. They were developed for each terminal, and they're available on our website, and we can send them to you.
Has EDC conducted any preliminary assessments of transitioning city ports to zero emission operations?
Yeah, so we've, as you know, we're making good progress on South Brooklyn Marine Terminal, and quite significant investments, which we talked about, $1 billion on the private sector, and also money from the city to make that work, and hopefully we'll see that completed shortly. We have the master plan and the vision statement on BMT, which is just moving to the next phase, which is talking about an all-electric port. And then we're very close to completing an MCT master plan for the Manhattan Cruise Terminal, which would also make that an all-electric site. And what Allison was talking about with regards to the substation of that magnitude that we're looking at will allow that site to be, and the auxiliary vessels like Harborcraft and the like, as well as the building, to be powered by electricity. So we're very, very focused on trying to get there with our 3 key sites.
The administration recently applied for a grant from New York State called the New York City Climate Smart Communities Grant to create a harbor decarbonization plan. How does that intersect with Introduction 1143?
I can take that. I
am not as familiar with the Climate Smart Communities Act, but can definitely get back to you and see how that would interact with the
Thank
study.
you. What energy sources are you considering as part of greening the port infrastructure at the Brooklyn Marine Terminal site?
So all of our marine sites would look at solar for sure. And then we're looking at all of our sites at EDC, which are sites of scale, if you will, on thermal networks. So that could either be geothermal or potentially using a water source as well. So that would be all of our key sites are looking at that, and that would be both relevant for this sort of discussion would be Brooklyn Marine Terminal, as well as the Manhattan Cruise Terminal, as well as potentially the Hunts Point Marine facility in terms of the overall Hunts Point campus. That would be another area to evaluate the use of thermal networks.
Has EDC assessed how much air and climate pollution is produced at our major terminals in recent years? And if not, do you have plans to do so?
I'm not sure if we have statistics on that. We could probably back into it in a way because we released the data for the savings associated with a cruise vessel being on shore power instead of on main engine use. So that could be a way to back into how much is being done, but we don't have the statistic of actually how much pollution is created by the vessels at those docks.
Yeah, and to clarify on that one, and my understanding might be in our previous conversations with maybe Department of Health and Hospitals, like we had had discussions about air monitoring, and I believe that from their perspective, Allison might correct me if I'm wrong, that they didn't think it was because air is fungible and is everywhere, it was really difficult to locate where the source was coming from, and so they did not necessarily recommend that I think is the preferred course of doing so, but we can get back to you on that too.
Thank you. Major ports across the country routinely conduct these emission inventories to monitor their air pollution impact and track progress on emissions reductions, usually as recommended by EPA guidelines. Does the EDC have any plans to do so or to work with relevant departments or agencies to do so? And I understand this is related to the previous question. So if we can also follow up with Councilmember Aviles on these responses, it would be helpful. So no other active.
Not that we're aware of, but we're happy to follow up with Councilmember Viales.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the key issue really on that is driving toward the electrified sites because that's what gets you the reduction.
Mm-hmm. And my last question, I believe, yes. What are EDC's plans to transition our ports? I think I kind of asked this already, to zero emission to ensure we meet the city's goal of becoming net zero by 2025.
On the key sites, it's the rollout of the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal. That's the first one to essentially come online. The second one up would be Brooklyn Marine Terminal for an all-electric facility.
Mm-hmm.
We're very close on a master plan for Manhattan Cruise Terminal, which would be a logical third site. And then the fourth site, which is not really a port today, but hopefully will be a port in the future, which is the Bronx, the marine terminal up there, which is the former prison barge site. And that prison barge is scheduled to leave this weekend. So that's our goal for how that site can convert as well.
Okay, great. I don't have any other questions. Councilmember Gutierrez? Okay, seeing none, this panel is now excused. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And I look forward to the ongoing conversation and the follow-up.
Thank you.
I now open the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings at the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing and have not done so, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic: oversight of the New York City ferry operations and waterfront sustainability. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant at Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of the close of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. For in-person panelists, please come up to the table once your name has been called. I will now call on our first in-person panel, Christopher Leon Johnson. You're our only panelist, so take your time.
All right. Hello, Chair Farias, Chair Gutierrez. My name is Christopher Leon Johnson. I'm here to show support for Intro 1121. That's your bill. To make it aware that there's a provided contract that ferry serves and reduced costs to middle school students. I want to put this on the record that the MTA should have been here today for this. I know that the MTA works with the New York City Ferry when it comes to emergency trips, just in case their services messes up, especially on 23rd Street. But the MTA should have been here today. Where was the MTA on this? I know that the MTA has a little bit of control of the New York City Ferry. I'm calling on the city council to make it where that I think students should be able to ride for free on the ferry. This city has enough money. Oh, they say, oh, you guys have enough money to make it where that these kids can ride for free. I'm calling the city council to work with the MTA and EDC. They should have another hearing like separately when it comes to supplementing ferry service for people that lives in trans deserts that make less than $20,000 a year when it comes to poverty wages. I believe that people that make poverty wages should be able to either they ride for free on certain days and certain times, or they're able to pay a reduced price. I say that these fares are really expensive for New York City Ferry. They're way more convenient and quicker than the bus and the trains, but they're really expensive. The Staten Island Ferry is not reliable at all. I know that for sure. It's not reliable, and it's like a madhouse at the Staten Island Ferry. I call it the travel institution these days. So what I'm saying like now, like I said, I support this bill. I hope this bill get passed. I hope the bill get passed next session. There you have a hearing. You can get it tomorrow's state meeting. Hope it gets to the state hearing tomorrow. So, but I'm saying that the MTA should have been here today. MTA should be out here. Even if they couldn't testify, they should be out here observing this. I mean, because this is not right. I hope that you, as a chair, ask them on the 13th. I know there's going to be a big MTA hearing on the 13th next month about this. So I support this bill 100%, and thank you and enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very ambitious goals for us with free transit. Seeing no one else in person to testify, I will now turn to virtual panelists. For virtual panelists, once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you and the Sergeant at Arms will set the timer and give you the go-ahead to begin. Please wait for the Sergeant to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. Now I will call our first virtual panel, Linda Baran.
You may begin.
Sergeants, can you unmute the panelists? Sorry, Linda, just bear with us for a moment.
It's working.
Great.
You hear me?
Yes, you can begin when ready.
Very good. Chair Farias and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify on today's oversight topic about ferry operations. As an island borough, Staten Island needs ferry service that is better connected to the rest of the network. Expanding and better connecting ferries isn't just a transit fix, it's a catalyst for local business growth, tourism, and waterfront activation. Staten Islanders rely on limited and time-consuming commuting options to reach jobs, schools, and services across the city. Direct, reliable routes to Wall Street and Midtown 34th Street would significantly cut travel times and expand access to the city's largest employment centers. Expanded ferry service would also reduce congestion and open new pathways to business hubs and cultural destinations. As we've noted in prior testimony on EDC's ferry optimization work, the system must connect Staten to more of the network, not just Lower Manhattan. We are encouraged that EDC's plan restores the Staten Island to Brooklyn route, reviving a historic link between Bay Ridge and St. George. In order to do this, it is paramount that not only resident feedback is considered, but the commuting data is analyzed. This will ensure new landings and service patterns reflect real travel behavior and create meaningful improvements in access and economic opportunity for Staten Island residents and businesses. We're asking the council to prioritize direct routes from Staten Island to Wall Street and Midtown and to work with EDC to embed those connections into the optimization plan. At the same time, the city should identify and fund new ferry landings so our neighborhoods have more than a single gateway. Service planning should be data-driven, reflecting actual commuter demand and ridership patterns to ensure reliable, predictable schedules and a true network rather than isolated routes. These improvements would give workers faster, more dependable commutes and give families and visitors easy access to our waterfront assets, cutting real door-to-door travel time for Staten Islanders and strengthening the waterfront economy on both sides of the harbor. Thank you, Chair Farias, for the opportunity to testify today. The Chamber looks forward to continuing its work with the Council and EDC to deliver meaningful transit options for Staten Island residents.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
testimony. I'd now like to recognize Fern Uwenator Warangun.
You may begin.
Thank you, Chair Ferris. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes, we can.
I work at Pacific Environment, and we're an environmental nonprofit organization with a mission to protect the climate and the marine environment. And PE works in partnership with portside communities across the US and elsewhere, and other enviro advocates as well, to transform ports from pollution hotspots to thriving hubs of sustainable economic development and environmental protection. And I'm speaking today to express strong support for Bills 937 as well as 1143. As I mentioned, Pacific Environment works with local groups and local residents. In New York, we have been working in partnership with Resilient Red Hook and Waterfront Alliance, as well as other environmental NGOs such as Earth Justice, Green Latinos, Environmental Defense Fund, and I will be submitting a joint letter of support for these bills from our partners as well. I should also mention that I'm not based in New York, but Pacific Environment has presence in New York, with staff actually living and working in New York City and specifically Brooklyn. But unfortunately, they are not able to attend the hearing today. So, as the EDC staff already mentioned, ports is an important economic engine, but they are also a huge hub of pollution as well. Port pollution comes from multiple sources, but the biggest source is invariably from ships. A medium-sized cruise ship can emit greenhouse gases equivalent to those of 12,000 passenger cars, and a huge amount of other harmful air pollutants as well that affect human health. And environmental and public health impacts of ports and the shipping sector are vast and important to highlight, but this is an Economic Development Committee hearing, so let me switch gear and focus on those other issues. As many of you may already know, the shipping industry and ports around the globe are rapidly shifting towards zero emission technologies, and New York City must not be left behind. Major ports across the US have already committed to becoming net zero by 2050 or sooner. Port of Seattle has adopted an executive order requiring all cruise ships, not just those that are shore power capable, but all cruise ships to plug into shore power by 2027. And many of those cruise lines operating at the Port of Seattle are the same ones that operate at Brooklyn and Manhattan. Also, regulatory pressure like the EU regulation will be requiring ports in European Union to provide shore power and for ships to plug in by 2030. And also, as the Cruise Line International according to Cruise Line International Association, nearly all of new build cruise ships have committed to integrating shore power technology, and they project that by 2028, 75% of cruise fleet globally will be shore power capable. So really transitioning port operations in New York to zero emission is not just about ensuring clean air for local residents and port workers, but it's really vital for New York ports to remain competitive as a leading global destination, which then also supports a vibrant economy. So, last thing I want to say is the zero emission port feasibility study is in one sense a misnomer because we already know it is feasible. The study is really an opportunity to figure out not whether it's feasible, but how and what is the best and most expedient way for New York to transition its ports. So thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it, and we look forward to reading your support on the bills that were heard today. Seeing no one else signed up to speak either virtually or in person, we have now heard from everyone who has signed up to testify. If we have inadvertently missed anyone who would like to testify in person, please visit the Sergeant at Arms table and complete a witness slip. And if we'd advertently missed anyone who'd like to testify virtually, please use the raise hand function on Zoom, and a member from our staff will call on you in order of hands raised. Seeing none, I would like to note again that written testimony will be reviewed in full by committee staff, may be submitted to the record up to 72 hours of the close of this hearing by emailing it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. And with that, this hearing is now adjourned.